Recently, DC Films head Walter Hamada gave an interview with the New York Times talking about the plan, the future of DC on film and on HBO Max. So basically DC on streaming, all things DC. And I thought it all sounded really good. And so did, well, I don't know what a lot of other people thought, but I think it's good. But there was one part of that news, that article, that got a contingent of DC fans upset or sad, involving the Snyderverse and the future of it, or lack thereof. You know, maybe there won't be a future for the Snyderverse. But we'll get to that. But for one thing, it was nice to see Walter Hamada, come out as, the head of DC Films and be visible. Walter Hamada, for the most part, has been kind of under the radar. He's been had that job for about 2 years, right? As the head of DC Films, but you don't really hear much about him. He doesn't really do a lot of press or anything. So it was nice to see him, out like this, saying, I am head of DC Films and this is my plan. But speaking of that plan, starting in 2022, they want to have about 4 to 6 movies a year out each year. And 4 of those movies are supposed to be theatrical movies, and then 2 on HBO Max. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to have all of that ready by 2022. That might not happen until 2023 or 2024, realistically speaking, because we haven't heard about any HBO Max films being ready by 2022, right? We've just heard of theatrical movies, about 4 theatrical movies being ready by 2022. They are the Flash movie, Aquaman 2, Black Adam, and The Batman, right? That's 4 theatrical releases. But I don't know what the 2 HBO Max movies will be that year. I don't think there's going to be any ready in time, unless they start some HBO Max movies in production now. But also, as a part of that plan, for all the theatrical movies, they plan on, and I think maybe the streaming movies too, they want to have some streaming HBO Max show spinoffs, right? And, I think the Peacemaker show that James Gunn's doing, which is a spinoff of his Suicide Squad, is the start of that, right? Peacemaker is going to be in James Gunn's Suicide Squad next year, and next year is also when Peacemaker's show is supposed to come out. So I guess that's their plan also for all their movies going forward. What HBO Max shows can we spin off of our movies? Good plan, right? Because they also want to build up their streaming service, and a good way to do that is to have spin-offs of popular movies. Very good plan. So all that part of it, I think, is good. I want them to have a plan. I want them to be churning out a lot of robust DC content, because I'm a DC fan. That makes me happy. And that probably makes you happy too. You're probably a DC fan if you're watching my channel. But also in that article that Walter Hamada was interviewed for, they also talked to, I guess, some studio executive insiders who said that when it came to the Snyder Cut and the Snyderverse, they think that Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is supposed to come out next year on HBO Max, that's a one-off, right? That's supposed to be the end of the Snyderverse. And I think the exact quote was, "That street leads nowhere," or something. So that's supposed to be the end of the Snyderverse. When we see the Snyder Cut released, that's it. Goodbye. It's a send-off. And that was some sobering news for fans of the Snyderverse. And I'd say somewhat surprising, right? If what we're hearing is the truth. Because Hollywood likes to repeat things that are successful. And I would think that if the Snyder Cut is successful on HBO Max, they're not going to stop with it, right? They would want to continue that, right? Because if it drives views and subscribers to a streaming service that is, not really doing so well right now, why would you want to end that? You would want to keep that going to help continue to drive, more subscriptions to your service and more views on it. So, we'll see. Notice that the sources of that quote were studio executives who didn't want to be named. That didn't come from Walter Hamada himself. So, I don't know. We'll see. I think they might be playing it close to the vest what their plans are regarding the Snyderverse, because they don't know yet, right? They don't know how successful the Snyder Cut's going to be on HBO Max yet. So, they might be playing coy with their plans to expand upon it, because they don't know if they want to expand on it yet, because they don't know if it's going to be successful yet. So, if you're someone who was worried or upset about, the Snyderverse being, I guess, a one and done, being the end of that, I'd advise you not to get too upset or worried yet. I think if the Snyder Cut is successful, that won't be the end of that corner of the DC EU. But we'll see. But anyways, I do like that they do have a plan. That they seem to be getting their stuff together. Seem to be. I mean, DC has seemed to be getting their stuff together in the movies multiple times in the past. But did they actually have their stuff together was the question. But maybe this time they do. Maybe this time they have a plan and they know where they want to steer this ship. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.